Hello everyone, welcome to Bioscient. Today I am going to tell you a very important topic of class 12, that's human reproduction, and I will be discussing about the female reproductive system in details. So, it would be beneficial for your board exam as well. How do we start this? Basically, the female reproductive system has two important parts, primary sex organ and secondary sex organs. Primary sex organs are those organs which are responsible for producing the gametes. So we know that female has a pair of ovaries where the process of oogenesis, the formation of eggs takes place, and the production of sex hormones like estrogen and progesterone will take place with the help of these ovaries in female. These two are termed as the female hormones. Now, the secondary sex organs, which contains a pair of oviduct, which is also known as fallopian tubes, and definitely the uterus, which is womb, cervix, and vagina, which combinedly forms the birth canal. Birth canal. So let's discuss in details about the ovaries. Ovaries are paired structure which are attached to the wall of the abdomen by mesovarium. By mesovarium, so that it will definitely will not hanging around, so it will be attached with the help of mesovarium. The shape of ovary is like almond shape, and it is internally lined with the germinal epithelium, which later on will be forming the gametes by the process of meiosis. Now I will be discussing about the detailed structure of ovary, where you can see the ovary, which is almond shaped. It is basically having different compartments and it has different roles. So the covering, the ovary is actually internally lined with the germinal epithelium. The outermost portion of the ovary is termed as cortex and the inner one is called as medulla. Now, the ovaries are the site for the oogenesis, which is a discontinuous process. So, it begins when a female is inside the womb of her mother. In that condition, the ovaries, inside the ovary of the fetus, there will be so many primary follicles. But once the female attains the maturity, then these process of oogenesis again starts, and the primary follicles, which are so many in numbers, will start maturing. And for the first time, when the menstruation occurs after attaining puberty in female, the menstrual cycle begins. So I will be explaining simultaneously the menstrual cycle, how it goes. So the primary follicle will be maturing as the secondary follicle, which will be further matured, where you can see an antrum here. This is a very important concept from where you can expect question. The structure called antrum is formed in the tertiary follicle, and upon complete maturation, this follicle will be named as Graafian follicle, which releases the ovum, or better to call it secondary oocyte. And then this Graafian follicle will be acting as a temporary gland, or the yellow body. You can also expect question from here. This is called as corpus luteum. This further will be shrinking to form a structure called corpus albicans, which is called as white body. As I told you, the internal part of the ovary will be termed as the medulla part, which will be having several blood vessels, connective tissue and muscles along with the elastic fibers. Now, very common question which I told you, this is very important, that which part of the ovary consists of antrum? The answer would be tertiary follicle. Now, how this follicle matures, just I am giving you a broader picture. So, this is the primary follicle where oocytes get surrounded by the granulosa cells. Okay, so this primary oocyte having the outermost theca cell and the secondary follicle, the structure which further matures into the tertiary follicle, where the internal structure will be termed as secondary oocyte, and this is the antrum or the Leaker part. The outermost layer will be having theca externa and theca interna. Definitely the secondary oocyte which is lined here by the zona pellucida. So you can understand this, there are different layers. So this structure represents the tertiary follicle. Here one important point you should know, that secondary oocytes are joined to the theca interna, which is the internal layer, by what do you call it? These are by the special granulosa cells which is called as cumulus oophorus. Okay, so we are through with the ovary. Now we will be studying about the structure which brings the ovum towards the womb, and that's the fallopian tube, which is paired and it is lined with the germinal epithelium. And we know that it is ovum is non-motile, so definitely it will be pushed by the ciliary muscles as well as smooth muscles, and the cilia will be helping in the process of movement, and this rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the fallopian tube muscle will be also called as peristalsis. Now we will be studying about the different parts of the oviduct. So it has, see, this is structure where you can see a finger like structure. This is called as fimbriae, and then this portion will have a structure called ostium, and which will be catching up the secondary oocyte or the ovum. So which is the infundibulum, which this is closest to the ovary, and it helps this collection of the ovum. Then the wider part where it is called as ampulla. You may be asked that what is the site of fertilization. Actually the junction of ampulla and isthmus is the site for fertilization, and the narrower part which is opening into the uterus is isthmus. So basically what we have learned that this oviduct has three parts: infundibulum, ampulla and isthmus. Now you can solve a question as well which is already asked in 2010 NEET. The part of fallopian tube which is closest to the ovary, definitely you will be able to answer, it's infundibulum. Now the uterus, the womb or the hysteria, which is inverted pear shaped, and it is the site for implantation. Uterus is basically lined with the outer lining is called perimetrium, middle layer is myometrium, and the endometrium. The different parts, if you see the structure of uterus, it will be inverted pear shaped, and the main body will be termed as the fundus, and the oviduct opens here in the fundus part. Then it will fundus and then corpus, it will be having main body where the implantation and the growth of the baby will take place, and there will be narrower opening here which is called as the cervix, and it has the internal opening or OS. It's between the cervical canal and the vaginal canal, forming this cervical canal, and the vaginal canal will form the external OS, and it will be having internal OS between the cervix and the vagina as well. So in certain condition or in case of tumor, there will be removal of uterus, that's called the hysterectomy. And As I told you, the uterus will be lined internally by endometrium. This is thickness, not constant. It varies depending upon the cycle, menstrual cycle. It will get thicker in the case just before the menstruation occurs. It will be the thickest, and then later it will be reduced. And myometrium is the intermediate one, and the perimetrium outermost. Vagina, which is long fibromuscular structure, it has lining of stratified squamous epithelium which is non-keratinized. It acts both as copulation and the birth canal with the semen canal. So it does not have any gland, but it is lined by a thin membrane called hymen. There are certain myth about the hymen as well, that the breakage of hymen decides the virginity of a female, which is not true. Basically, it can break in many situations like cycling and all. It has been mentioned in NCERT as well. So the external genitalia of the female reproductive system, also called as vulva, and it has different parts. The mons pubis, which is of fatty acid, and there will be labia majora and the labia minora, which has which are the fleshy folds, labia majora and the labia minora, and it is protected by the hymen. So this is the structure which you can see. The parts which is very sensitive, it will be lined with the pubic hair, and the mons pubis is the part where labia majora you can see, and the labia minora you can see. This is the urethral opening, and here you will find some glands also, seen glands or paraurethral glands, and Bartholin glands, which also provides the mucus here. And we very well know that there are certain homologous organs like the male and the female, where clitoris is the female equivalent to the penis in males. It's also called as homologous organ, and clitoris is very sensitive, which is responsible for sexual excitement in females. And the skin that covers the glands of clitoris is prepuce, and hymen, which is opening of vagina, which is partially covered by a membrane. That's the hymen I told you. So here it will help you out with understanding the homologous organs. Like in female, if it is ovary, we say that in males the equivalent structure is testis. In female, if the female gamete is known as ovum, then the sperm. Labia majora, here scrotum, where the testes are located. Labia minora, which is equivalent or homologous organ, is penile urethra. Then the clitoris is there, which is just equivalent to the glans penis in males. Bartholin glands in females. Then in males there are Cowper's glands for mucus secretion, seen glands, which is equivalent to prostate glands in males. Here is a question. We are heading towards the end of the female reproductive system. So which group represents the external genitalia of human female? There are options, like option A is labium minora, labium majora, or vagina. Labium majora, labium minora, oviduct, which is the not part of external genitalia. Similarly, labium minora, labium majora, and cervix, where cervix is the internal part. So the correct answer is labium majora and labium minora and clitoris. I hope this video finds you like you find this video in correlation with your board exams. It will be helpful for that. So just this is a kind of revision. If you need such kind of more videos, you just comment on, and I will be forming or just recording this kind of videos for you. That's all for today. Thank you so much.